Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Teens Behind the Scenes series. And my name is Leanne Dempsey. And Teens Behind the Scenes is a program of the National Theater Foundation dedicated to providing teens in the Washington, D.C. area with access to Broadway touring productions and professional insight into performing arts careers. And so in this series, we interview emerging and leading theater professionals to learn more about what they do. So how they do it and how they got to where they are now. And so joining me today, we have Amy Austin. And I would love to introduce you, Amy, just by reading your bio, and then we'll dive into a conversation. So everyone, this is Amy Austin, pronouns she, her, hers. President and CEO. Amy is the president and CEO of Theater Washington, has built a distinguished career at the intersection of storytelling, theater, journalism, event production, and her favorite city, Washington, D.C. She is the publisher emeritus of Washington City Paper, the influential and award-winning local alternative news outlet renowned for its long-form journalism and in-depth arts coverage. Austin is a member of Leadership Greater Washington and former board chair of the Theater Lab and served on the board of Destination DC, the destination marketing firm for Washington, D.C., for 9 years, and is a mentor and professional resource for the Arts Institute for Creative Advancement. She is the first non-founder board member of the Tiny News Collective, a collaborative effort to support new and early-stage local news founders. Her leadership and advocacy have earned her the Business of Pride Award from the Washington Business Journal and the John Conyers Jr. Advocacy Award from the DC Jazz Festival. And deeply committed to theater arts and education, Austin believes they are essential to the human experience by fostering shared empathy, understanding, and joy. She is married to Deirdre Joy, and together they have 3 children, Eli, Adelaide, and David. Amy, welcome to Teens Behind the Scenes here at the National Theater Foundation. How are you?
Thank you. I'm good. Thank you. Yeah, I think I should change that bio though. My children are no longer children, but yes.
I know. Well, sometimes like they're always your kids, I feel that
Right, right.
way.
That's true.
I love that. Well, your bio is so impressive, and I am just so excited to sit and have some time with you on just like how you got to where you are, because it is something where it seems like, whoa, you have done so much service to just the arts in general, but also this specific area. So it's just incredible to have you on board today. And I just love to get us started with the fact that your career has moved through you've journalism and publishing and production and now leading one of DC's most important theater organizations. So was there a through line connecting you to all of these, or did theater sneak up on you in your life? Like, how did we get to that through line?
Yeah, well, theater is the through line. So
Yeah.
there's no mistaking that theater is the through line, because my what I believe is in storytelling. And so journalism was a natural way for me to go in terms of my belief in storytelling and how it can really change individuals as well as, how we live together. So that's where journalism impact is in making our democracy work. That's what we're
Yeah.
talking a lot about right now in these
Yeah.
days. But it's also the real place where democracy works is by having local journalism where you can tell people what's going on in their own backyards and their own communities. And that's where I worked for decades, was at Washington City Paper. And that's what we did. We celebrated and talked about and made sure that people knew how to live and get the most out of the city. Not only about things they cared about on the government, but also like where to go and
Yeah.
what theaters to go to. And I spent, so to me, anyway, that's my through line is really how storytelling through theater, through journalism, through dance, through performance is a way to really get people to understand themselves and where they are better.
Yeah, I mean, and did you find that when you were coming up through grade school and even in college, was it that you love storytelling even at a really young age, or was it, what was that spark for you where you look back
Yeah.
and you're like, I should have known I was gonna turn into this girl?
I did. Yeah, I did have that. I grew up in a really small town in the Midwest in Illinois, Princeton, Illinois. And, we did have, we used to literally do the whole put on the shows for the neighborhood when I was young. But the first memory I have is actually was strong memory was in junior high when I watched a play, and there was a friend of mine who was like playing this person in a tree, and it was not a real tree, but in my mind's eye at the time it was. And I thought, I want to be acting, like I want to be in that tree.
Yeah.
And so then when I got to high school, I got involved with the drama program there. Because it was the other thing that comes to mind when I'm talking now is that it was a really, there was 100 people in my graduating class. It was a really small place where I grew up, but we had band and we had chorus and we had a really strong theater program. And and now when you look at arts and in high schools, as you know, probably better than I do, they don't get what I was able to get.
Yeah.
And that really informed me and who I am in such powerful ways.
Yeah.
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 So, that education piece is really what made me, it really gave me a language that I wouldn't have had otherwise. And gave me ownership of who I was, because it really taps in, to your feelings and your talents and making people happy by performing and all those things I love.
Yeah, and I think that's the interesting thing about theater too, is that it's so, what we would say, like multimodal, in the sense that like being in, having a influence of like band and dance and storytelling and writing, all of it lives in theater. Because I'm thinking about what
Right.
you just said. And me in high school, we also had a really strong band program. We had a really strong theater program, and that also, I'm just, in reflecting what you're saying, I'm like, yeah, that informed me too. Like I loved marching band. Like that was a huge thing in my
Yeah.
life. Yeah. Me too. I was the
Marching
color
and like we
girl.
had these wool uniforms and we used to march and like it was so hot that you practically pass out, but it was so much fun.
It
Yeah.
was so much fun. Band camp epic. For
Right,
sure.
right.
Well, one of the, like, I mean, we just had the wonderful, I had the wonderful opportunity to attend the Helen Hayes Awards recently. And,
Oh, great.
Theater Washington is such an impactful organization on this region. And I think for our listeners, I think it's really important for them to just know, what is Theater Washington? What does Theater Washington even mean or do? And then I would love to know, like, I'm so curious, Amy, when you wake up in the morning, what is your day like? Because it feels like you are the keeper of so many important things. So, Theater Washington, who, what, and what do they do in our area? And then, what does your life look like being the overseer of this organization?
Okay. Yeah, great. Yeah, it's so I touched on, I started out wanting to act, and then like many people in theater, then I discovered, my strong suit, as much as I love and still love to be on stage, my strong suit was really production management, was really like making the
Mm,
show run.
yeah.
So that's really where that's where I am of value. So at Theater Washington, we do a lot of large scale events, like you mentioned, the Helen Hayes Awards, but we're really what we're doing is we're working with, there's 90 theaters across the region, and that's a big number. And
Yes.
we find ways that we partner with all of them to create advocacy for the theaters, to celebrate them, like with the Helen Hayes Awards, to connect them, find ways for them to interact with each other,
Yeah.
and to really make sure that this city is well known, this region is well known as a theater destination,
Hmm.
which it is.
Which it
It
is.
has,
Yeah.
yeah. it is one, and we just want to make sure more and more people know that all the time. So we do a great program called Theater Week, which is in the fall, and that, has grown. It's about its 10th year, and it's grown every year to be a bigger and bigger thing where people are traveling from all over the country, and they're going to, 3 or 4 shows in a weekend. And it's like Restaurant Week, where people are sampling theater for like this 2.5, 3 week period. We call it Theater Week, but it's really Theater 3 Week. So we do things like that make people conscious. Oh yeah, like yourself, like, oh yeah, I mean, you're in theater all the time, but oh yeah, I love theater and I loved going and I want to go back. And so that's what we do. So who knows what my everyday is. But mostly, it's about, I think it's the core of it is creating events. We do a lot of, but I also do a lot of just connection, like trying to get people to collaborate, connect, listen to each other, finding spaces for people to understand how they can get into the river, right? Like, where is their stream in this big, wonderful community?
Yeah, what I hear is that you're doing a lot of relationship building among the different theaters, among the different theater patrons, you're definitely you're glue. Theater Washington's like feels like the glue for the entire community. And I mean, wow, 90 theaters?
Yeah, there's a lot.
It's massive.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, we did an economic impact study that was based on the data, and I was like, "Whoo, I'm right. There are 90 theaters. We counted." So yes, there are, and there's at any one time there's probably 35 to 50 doing performances. So some of them are doing a show a year. Some of them are really focused on readings. So some of them are children's theater. There's just this great diversity of voices and missions and passions, but they share that drive, to tell stories, to connect people.
Yeah, and the Helen Hayes Awards, I mean, I'm curious for you what that means for you. Like, why are they so important to this community? Obviously, you were saying it is a beautiful night. I can attest to it. It's a beautiful night, and it is everyone, like the entire theater community is there. But personally to you, what does that night mean for you? You had a beautiful speech that you did this year, and I'm just curious, like when you show up on that day and see this entire community, what does that mean to you, those awards?
Yeah, they do mean a lot. So what they are is the Helen Hayes Awards first of all, they're a 42-year-old tradition. So they've been going on, we're really fortunate. And I feel like, my job is to keep them, and to keep them respected and understood. And that 42-year legacy includes that they have an extreme amount of integrity. They are hard to get. And because there's all this wonderful work here. So they're competitive, hard to get. But that night when we do the awards, we want that sense of collaboration, of joy, of how it's like one big room. It is not about you did this, I did this. It is about what we did. Yes. And so that's the spirit that we try to bring into that place. And I think, we just did it. For those of you listening, it just happened 4 days ago, so we're a little bit high off of it. But it
was beautiful. It's a beautiful night. It's absolutely beautiful. And I think the other thing that I really enjoy about the room, and this is connected to our listeners, is that we have young people who are interested in a career in theater. And I'm curious for you, there's so many different paths that are in the room at the night of Helen Hayes. And so what do you, thinking about our listeners, what do you wish young folk knew about the breadth of career opportunity that's in the world of theater? I mean, that Helen Hayes shows that literally. But what would you tell a young person in regards to, like, even beyond performance? There's
so much. I mean, I know from personal experience, and I know that it's still happening, that when I was young, people told me not to do theater. Like, just do not do that. That is a wrong-headed move. And I just appreciate parents, who don't give their kids that message, because it's a huge industry and it can take you in many directions, in the theaters, outside the theaters. But what you learn in theater is so transferable to not only working within the theaters, but working in many other careers. So I would say just value it, and follow what you're drawn to. I
Yeah.
didn't know I was going to like production management, but there I was and was asked to do it. And, people saw in me something I didn't see in myself. And then it became really the basis of everything I got to do past that point, right? That became the skill set that I developed and understood. And that started in theater. So there's so many ways, there's technical, there's building. I mean, there's just so many, and the creativity, the design, words, the scripts, the plays, the dramaturgs. There's just so many ways to enter in through how you work best in the world, which who knows how we get to that place, but
I mean,
but we do.
I resonate with that, because I think I tell people for myself that, theater is the lens in which I see the world. So I can there's many things that I do, but it's always like theater is just how I see, and the language that I speak in. And I would translate that even to the storytelling that you're also so passionate about. And I think that DC has incredible theater.
Yes, that is so true.
Incredible.
It does. I mean, it's such an incredible town for theater. Like, there's just so many different kinds of theater, so many ways in which stories are told. I mean, we have so many institutions that are nationally famous, that we have right here. So we do have an incredible town, an incredible creative force.
Yeah, we do. And I think the right here part is the part that I'd love to jump into, because it's like it's in our listeners' backyards, they can literally, get on the metro and be at another show. And so I'm really curious about the things that you're most proud of when it comes to making theater accessible, especially to young people. Is there an initiative that you think about that you specifically really love? That opens the doors of some of our, DC theaters to young people that may be listening today?
There's a lot of programs within each individual theaters where it's accessible. I mean, you do have to look, right? Like, you have to comb their website, give them a call. But there's a whole bunch of ways in which it's made accessible, from free preview nights to pay what you cans, to if you're under 30, you pay your age. So if you're 12, you get to pay $12. So there's a lot of ways in which it's that they really, we want, if I speak for everybody in the industry, we want people to come experience it at all ages. We do Theater Week, which I talked about a minute ago, but Theater Week is this great festival time where we're saying what's available and what's out there, and having these prices that are 25, 45, and 65, so that people can discover theater and are looking through a lens of, what's near me and what story do I want to see, and can I get a ticket that's in my price point, right? So people are making those decisions then. But I think Theater Week is great, but I think that every day there's a way to see theater, 365 days a week here, and you can find ways to get into it. We're also, I think the point you made about in your own backyard is really true, because we all think about New York and it's Broadway and it's like this, X amount block radius, 10 block radius. But here it's everywhere, and it really is in your backyard at Falls Church. It's in your backyard at Only Maryland. It's in your backyard in DuPont Circle. It's in your backyard no matter where you're living and working. And that's really one of the great strengths of our place, is that we have it available to people where they live and work, as opposed to you have to go somewhere to get to it.
Yeah. And I think that the I mean, I can't even imagine being, 15 in DC going to see theater. I would have been in my heyday. Like, it would have been amazing.
Right, yeah,
I
yeah,
just,
that's
I
true.
didn't grow up in an area that had like that many
Yeah,
theaters. So it's
right,
really, really lovely to be able to see it and be able to access so many different types of stories.
right,
Musical
right,
theater to just straight drama and,
right.
classical theater to theater for young audiences, like, devised pieces, physical theater. I mean, we can go on
Yes,
and
yes, yes.
on
And
about that.
places where there's 20 people in the audience and places where there's 1,000 people in the audience. So
Yeah.
I really love that too, because one of my favorite things is smaller audience sizes where you're really leaning in and you're can pretty much it feels like you know everybody in the audience by the time the show is over.
Yes. Yeah.
In a way that we're all connected.
Yeah.
So I think that also can really change people's opinions about theaters when you have different kinds of experiences too.
Yeah. And do you think that for you, Amy, is there it could be a production that you've seen in DC, or it could be a production in general that you see that kind of really solidified your passion or your kind of drive, and to just tell you like why this matters the most to you? Is there a production for you that kind of kind of was like, this is palpable, this is the storytelling that is really the changing people? Is there anything that resonates for you?
There's so much.
I was going to say,
Um,
side note, I know there's probably like a lot.
yes. There was the show that comes to mind that's most recent. I mean, there's so much, but there was one that was called The Jungle that was at Shakespeare Theater, and
Wow.
you literally could not recognize the theater when I went in, and I know that theater so well, but they had built the set so that where you went down and you found yourself like as if you were in this refugee camp, and it
Wow.
felt and looked like you were in a refugee camp, and some of the people who were actors were in that refugee camp,
Yeah.
so it was this very intimate story where the audience was on all four sides, so you could see the
Mm.
audience, you could see each other. I think the audience experience to me is very powerful, like
Yeah.
that we're doing this thing we all chose to be here
Yeah.
and we're doing this thing together. They're doing it with us and for us, but we are also a big part of the experience. Audiences, they change every night. You never know one audience to the other what they're going to be like. So
Yeah.
that particular, and it was based in a true story in a real place,
Mhm.
and things happened to the things the story we were told was based in things that happened to people not that long ago. And
Yeah.
that was, and so current, right? Like we're
Mhm.
worried about refugees. What is going to happen to all these people who are being driven from their homes? And that story really resonated to have you feel and see it in a way that I hadn't experienced like quite like
Yeah.
that before.
Yeah. Wow. That was, I mean, and I love that. Your response is it's not just the performance, it's the design, the all it's you see it you
Oh,
see
right,
the
right,
yeah, you see the production and its entirety, like the collaborative, like effort,
right.
which is so cool, that I can just see like that's how you're in taking in the
Yes,
piece,
yeah, yeah,
which
yeah.
is
Yeah,
really,
because
really
what those
lovely.
designers had to convince the whole building to do to make that design work and to take
Yeah.
audiences through this back passage. And,
Yeah.
it was really just a big collaboration with so many people.
Yeah, and I can see your love for storytelling too, because it's also a piece that points to the world in that
Right.
sense, like a very specific group as well. So I now wish I went to see it.
Well, that's the thing with theater too. It's never there for very
I
long.
know. Yeah.
And I think there's a certain beauty in that it's there, and then and then something else is there, right? Like
Yeah.
it's constantly in motion.
Yeah, there's a poetry to it in some way.
Right.
Well, I mean, I definitely would say I have one other question for you in our chat today, but it's very, very cool, to see all of us in theater, we do have a passion for storytelling. But I love that there's also this you have such a connection, Amy, to the production management side, also the journalism side, and for our listeners, you're just so many avenues into being able to live in this industry. You are a wonderful example of that for our young listeners. And my final question just has to do with, if there is a listener out here who says, I want to do what she's doing, just like you said about that young person in the tree when we were seeing the show in junior high, right? And they look at you and they say, I want to do what she's doing. What would be the thing that you would tell them to do first? What would be your response to that?
I mean, I'm just a real big believer in listening to yourself and not letting the storytelling that may be around you to stop you from trying, right?
Yeah.
Like just do what feels good and be willing to ask a question, can I do this? How can I do this? People are really willing to help people, but they can't unless you ask. So if you want to do what I'm doing, there were so many people around me. There's always been so many people in my career who are so much more talented than I am. They're journalists. They know how to write. They know how to do that storytelling. There are designers who knew how to create those stages. When I was working in theater as a production manager, my job now, I have this great staff who knows how to put on events, and they know how to, whip up spreadsheets that I could never do in a million years. But I'm a part of that because I like that piece that we talked about, like connecting people and listening to people. So I just use the skills I have, which are not their incredible skills, but, to bring people together.
Yeah. And I think I'm hearing like, know those skills, cultivate those skills, celebrate those skills. And they'll take you somewhere in this industry, especially if that's where you desire to be. So it is an honor to have you on our Teens Behind the Scenes webinar.
It's fun to be here.
It's fun to speak to you. And for everyone who's listening, thank you so much for joining us today. We hope that you got a wonderful insight into another amazing opportunity for you in the theater industry. And we definitely hope you go see a show here in DC.
That's right. Go see a show.
We hope to see you soon. Have a great day, everybody.